What if I told you that the very cars you love, the ones that define American muscle and European luxury, might soon be dominated by China? You heard that right. China is quietly but rapidly taking over the world's most iconic car brands. And it's happening faster than you think. No matter how closely we follow the latest happenings in the automotive industry, the untold, shocking truth is that China is taking over European and American car makers right before our very eyes. It's time to put the pedal to the metal and explore this subject matter, especially with the increasing popularity of Chinese automotive companies and their impact on the industry. That's why we've put together this ultimate guide for you, featuring groundbreaking insights and breaking news about China's domination in the automotive world. So go for an eye-opening ride as we uncover the truth about China's influence on the global car market. Body. The perception of Chinese automakers has quickly changed, moving from being associated with producing cheap knockoffs to a genuine competitor. With many companies like Chery, BYD, and Great Wall Motor, GWM, steadily increasing market share in Europe, Chinese electric vehicle, EV manufacturers are already ahead of the game compared to European automakers. With the three companies expecting 20 model launches over the next 5 years, it looks like they're ready to push things further. This decision is anticipated to reduce the market share of other foreign EV giants, like Tesla, as well as the hold that European EV and traditional car producers have on the European market. China is bringing in electric vehicles, and opinions in the US and Europe about how to react to this are very different. China, whose automakers currently control the majority of the world's markets for batteries and clean energy technology, is gaining enormous strategic advantages from the drive to move beyond internal combustion engines on both sides of the Atlantic. From there, governments' reactions differ, with US protectionism standing in stark contrast to the EU's low tariffs and substantial state subsidies for imports of battery-powered goods. However, the possibility of China acquiring yet another industry is becoming too big of a problem for governments to ignore in Washington and Brussels, and it is influencing discussions about trade, jobs, and the battle against climate change. While we haven't put up a "do not invest" sign explicitly, the United States has made it obvious that we are concerned about Chinese automakers, noted Scott Kennedy, a Chinese economic policy specialist at the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington. Europe has been more supportive and far less interventionist. President Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, which placed a premium on car and battery manufacture in North America, together with the US, steep 27.5% tariff on Chinese-made automobiles, implemented during Donald Trump's administration, are the main sources of support for this policy. Furthermore, the animosity that leaders of both political parties have toward Beijing would make it difficult for Chinese automakers to enter the American market, at least not in an open manner. In the meantime, whether by purpose or not, European actions have given China's up-and-coming automakers a tactical advantage. Just 10% of imports are subject to block tariffs, and both imported and domestically produced automobiles and trucks are eligible for national electric vehicle subsidies across Europe. The European Union, EU, and the United Kingdom have both resolved to ban the sale of new cars with internal combustion engines, starting in 2035. This decision makes the European market more attractive to producers of electric vehicles. For this reason, the likelihood of seeing a BYD-branded car in Dallas is lower than in Dusseldorf. BYD, a producer of clean cars and the battery cells that power them, outsold Tesla in this area last year with sales of roughly 2 million. It's merely one of many Chinese brands that are becoming available in Europe. In comparison to China and the United States, where national or regional assembly is required to be eligible for purchase subsidies and import levies on international vehicles are higher, the European market for electric vehicles is far more open, claims a recent report on the threat Chinese automakers pose to the EU from the insurance company Allianz. The Chinese challenged China's auto industry used to be known for producing cheap knockoffs, but it has quickly changed to become a serious competitor to Western manufacturers. With 27 million automobiles sold domestically last year, compared to 13.75 million cars and light trucks in the US and 9.25 million cars in the EU, its home market is larger than any other. The nation has an even greater advantage when it comes to electric cars. Yes, China accounted for 2/3 of global battery electric vehicle registrations last year with 5.4 million. Along with having a firm hold on the raw materials needed to produce battery cells, it also controls about 76% of the world's capacity for battery cell manufacture. As a result, the nation's automakers can produce EVs on a far larger scale and with greater strategic benefit. China is bringing in electric vehicles, and opinions in the US and Europe about how to react to this are very different. China, whose automakers currently control the majority of the world's markets for batteries and clean energy technology, is gaining enormous strategic advantages from the drive to move beyond internal combustion engines on both sides of the Atlantic. From there, governments' reactions differ, with US protectionism standing in stark contrast to the EU's low tariffs and substantial state subsidies for imports of battery-powered goods. However, politicians in Washington and Brussels are finding it increasingly difficult to ignore the threat posed by China's annexation of yet another industry, and this is influencing discussions about trade, employment, and the fight against climate change. Although the United States has not officially put up a "do not invest" sign, it has made it plain that it is concerned about Chinese automakers, according to Scott Kennedy, a Chinese economic policy specialist at the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington. Europe has been more supportive and far less interventionist. President Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, which placed a priority on car and battery manufacture in North America, supports the U.S. strong 27.5% tariff on Chinese-made automobiles, which was implemented during Donald Trump's administration. Furthermore, the animosity that leaders of both political parties have toward Beijing would make it difficult for Chinese automakers to enter the American market, at least not in an open manner. In the meantime, whether by purpose or not, European actions have given China's up-and-coming automakers a tactical advantage. Just 10% of imports are subject to block tariffs, and both imported and domestically produced automobiles and trucks are eligible for national electric vehicle subsidies across Europe. The European Union recently decided to outlaw the sale of new cars with internal combustion engines beginning in 2035, and the United Kingdom has followed suit. This move has increased the appeal of the European market for manufacturers of electric vehicles. For this reason, it is more likely to see a BYD-branded vehicle in Dusseldorf than in Dallas. Manufacturer of sustainable automobiles and their battery cells, BYD sold around 2 million units in 2017, much more than Tesla. It's one of many Chinese brands moving into the European market. According to a recent Allianz Insurance Company report on the threat Chinese automakers pose to the EU, Europe's electric vehicle market is comparatively far more open than those of China and the US, where national or regional assembly is a prerequisite to qualify for purchase subsidies and import duties on foreign vehicles are higher. Vehicles prepared for export at the port of Yantai in the eastern province of Shandong, China, vertical bar, Getty Images via AFP. And despite Washington's trade restrictions, it has already established itself in the American market. The Swedish automaker Volvo and its luxury electric vehicle partner Polestar, which is constructing a facility in South Carolina, are owned by the Chinese automaker Geely. Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford, is realistic about what China means for his business. At a financial conference organized by investment bank Morgan Stanley, Farley stated, "We see the Chinese as the main competitor, not GM or Toyota. I believe the Chinese will be the dominant force." Ford, which has auto facilities in the United States, Europe, and China, is evaluating the danger posed by Chinese mass-market EVs by the fact that it is not focused on either General Motors, its main domestic rival, or Toyota, the largest manufacturer in the world. Farley's analysis is supported by other patterns. China's General Administration of Customs reports that last quarter saw China overtake Japan to take the top spot in the world vehicle export rankings for the first time. Chinese car quality and value have significantly increased, particularly over the past 3 years, according to Michael Dunn, an independent automotive expert with experience both in China and the United States. Chinese electric vehicles, EVs, garnered international attention during the April Shanghai Auto Show. These vehicles ranged in price from the lowly BYD Seagull hatchback, which costs a pitiful $11,400, to the luxurious Hi-Fi Y SUV. "It took me back to the glory days of the Tokyo Auto Show in the 1980s, said S&P Global Mobility Auto forecaster and analyst Joe Langley. He talked about the time when compact, dependable automobiles like the Honda Civic and Toyota Corolla were produced by Japanese automakers, changing the global automotive order. Thanks for watching. Kindly click the button below to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.